My name's Killian.
My name is Pat.
My name is Titus.
And I've suffered
from
sleep paralysis.
Sleep paralysis.
Sleep paralysis.
What is sleep paralysis? The Mayo Clinic defines sleep paralysis as a temporary inability to move or speak before falling asleep or upon waking. People who suffer from this condition are able to open their eyes, see, sense, touch, and hear with total cognition, but yet are completely immobile. To date, the scientific community has yet to find a reliable method for detection and treatment of the condition. It may seem like a rare condition, but in fact, over 3 million Americans report suffering from sleep paralysis every year, and over 7% of people worldwide. And for many, that's where it ends. But for millions of others, these symptoms are just the tip of the iceberg. For these people, there is one singular and seemingly supernatural connective phenomenon that plagues them all. Millions of people have reported hearing otherworldly voices and sounds, seeing beings or energies from another realm, and many report actually being harmed by these entities. Out of the countless numbers of people who have been interviewed on the subject, regardless from which walk of life they come, they all have very similar stories about the contact they have experienced, and they all insist the contact is real. Join us now as we talk to 3 such people and attempt to shed some light on the condition of sleep paralysis and the phenomenon of the shadow people. The vast majority of people who we interviewed stated that their first experience with sleep paralysis was when they were young children. Scientists have discovered that people who suffer from the condition often are able to fall into deep sleep rapidly. These people often have irregular REM sleep as well, so it would only be logical to assume that these same people have suffered from these conditions since they were very young. Paranormal experts contend that children are more open to various phenomena that allow them to see and hear things that might be from another plane of existence, perhaps a place that holds secrets to life and the afterlife itself.
It started when I was around 8 or 9. And it was a thing where I could hear this really loud noise, like right by my ears. It sounded like somebody had taken a chain and was beating a metal barrel. And I would wake myself up, but then I couldn't help it. I'd fall back to sleep, and that would happen again. This would happen, not on all nights, but just some nights, and it would last like 2 to 3 hours.
Where traditional therapy and medicine fail, many have looked for treatment through a number of alternative medicines and healing practices. One popular therapy that is being used is Reiki healing, a Japanese form of touch healing to deliver and remove energies from the body. And some believe that it can provide a much-needed relief for those in need.
Hi, I'm Candace Norton. I'm a Reiki healer / paranormal investigator. Some people may fear that it's something dark. I, myself, don't fear as it being a dark, something bad or negative. I find it's more of a different level of a manifestation of an energy on a different level. The people that I deal with, as far as my clients, may have issues of being able not to sleep because of it. So I usually try to help them through that, to be able to understand it, by getting them to understand that it could be a different energy manifestation and nothing to be fearing. I've had other people and their children, them coming to talk to me about their children seeing and hearing things. They are more open because they're still learning. They don't have a narrow mind, because when you become an adult at a certain age, you start finding your own way, and you almost like have a certain narrow outlook with things. To where children, they're more open to learning and being more vulnerable with things. So they can pick up things much easier at a younger age. That's including if they're picking up negative energies that might be left behind. And she's got audio sensitivity. So she's picking up on, as I was understanding her, the drums and such. When you're up on a different plane, sometimes you're picking up on certain frequencies, and the different frequencies meaning even audio. You can maybe pick up on, it could be part of a history and that in a later date and time. It all depends on that, I guess, level of energy, I would say, that you're connecting with. I'm thinking she's probably picking up on something that's happened at a certain point in time while she's in that state that could have happened in the past. She could have been picking up on drums that were from native time in history, because she's those type of energies that you're feeling and you're on that plane, you can be pretty much picking up what I would say different layers of frequencies. Hearing something residual, because that happens when we deal with it in the paranormal field. There again is we deal with residual. Some people may pick it up and some people may not, because of the sensitivity, and that deals with a lot of your frequency on how sensitive you are.
First contact for many youngsters may come as an auditory interaction from someone or something that cannot be seen. For others, this preliminary connection can be visible and a much more sinister type of experience.
I was around 9 years old. Again, not having the best of sleep. I might have stayed up too long playing Nintendo. Finally laid it down for the night. Was jolted up by movement in the corner. Used to have a basket of laundry far end of the room. And we never washed clothes. We were poor. So we washed clothes like every so often. So it was a nice little mound of clothes. And you know how things can look different, especially at night, to a young kid. It looks like everything. So I remember waking up on my back, looking over to the side, just able to move my head, and looking at my laundry basket, where the noise was coming from in that corner. And it seemed to grow, like get bigger than it actually was, which again put me in like a terrifying mood. I like the immense sweats, fear of wanting to get up, but not being able to. I seen red eyes appear from this mound, and then the figure grow and step down off the laundry basket. And it stood there in front of the laundry basket till it was time for me to get up and go to school. And I tell you, that was the longest non-moving wait I've ever done in my life. Like, when I finally was able to move my arms and legs, I had a choice to run right past the basket and call for my mom, and that seemed forever. I ran straight past that basket, knocked on my mom's door, and screamed on like there's a monster in my laundry. I assume the way you're looking at this is the way she looked at me. Like, what are you talking that was the first time that formed into an actual being, monster or demon of sorts. But like, as I'm running past the basket, I can feel the hairs on my neck stand up, as if it was touching me or grabbing for me. Yeah, that was frightful.
Something like that with the shadow is very common, especially in the paranormal world. He might be in a sleep state where he's feeling and sensing that.
When I was in college between 2014 and 2017, I experienced a variety of sleep paralysis attacks. There were, I think, a bunch of small minor ones that I can't quite recall, but there were two in particular that I do remember very vividly happening within the span of a couple months. And the first one I do remember vividly being, I was in my college dorm in the middle of the night, of course, and the beds were up against the wall farthest away from the door. And when I woke up, I was just really confused why I woke up. It wasn't our suite mate, which is the room adjacent from us, connected by the bathroom. There was no noise at all. It was actually really eerily quiet. And so when I woke, I, of course, tried to just roll over and see if maybe there was, something that disturbed me, and I couldn't move or do anything. And when that kind of initial startling of that kicked in, I then realized there was something in the silence of my room, and it was just this breathing. And it was just very deep, it was very slow, it was very patient, and it wasn't coming from above. It wasn't my roommate who was sleeping. It was clearly something as if it was standing right next to my bed. Not even standing, actually. It was more like it was crouched next to me, and its face was as close as it could be to the back of my head, as possible, to be as loud as possible. And once that really registered, it freaked me out, and I tried to immediately move, but couldn't. And that's what really took me by surprise, was the fact that not only could I just not move, it's a different feeling of just not being able to move. It doesn't feel like a dead leg or your foot's asleep or something like that. It feels like you are in stone, like immobile. Yeah, you're completely immobile. And my eyes could move, I could breathe, I could open my mouth. I was breathing just out of my nose, and my breath was just really rapid and picking up, but the breathing behind me was just very constant. It never changed. It felt like I was there for an hour, and I'm trying to get notified to my my roommate, to my suite mate, to anybody, or even just to register, am I here? Is this a dream? It felt very real. I could feel the sheets below me. I could feel the mattress that I was on. I could feel the pillowcase that I was resting my head on, and I could see the wall, and that was it. Unfortunately, I was just immobile there for quite a while, and it just feels like just you're tense the whole time. Your body is, even though you're immobile and still, everything just feels flexed. And all I could think of, if I couldn't call out to anyone, was just try and scream. And I don't think I've ever tried using my voice harder than I ever have in my entire life than in that moment, where it just felt like my jaw slowly was fighting two heavy forces that were keeping my mouth closed and ripping apart. It's like in movies when you see people when their mouths are sewn shut, and then when they try and open it, it like rips open. That's what it felt like. It was so painful, to just try and force my mouth open and just emit this scream. And it was the longest exhale of noise I've had. And then it was over. And I was laying there. I could finally give like a full hearty, like just sigh and breathe and feel my body rising and falling with breath. The breathing behind me was gone. And I thought it was so strange that even though I emitted this really loud scream, my roommate didn't wake up. My suite mates next door didn't wake up. Nothing seemed to change. And so I didn't know if when I screamed, if it was just more of something mental. Maybe it was I was mentally picturing it and then it happened. Did I really do it? But it sounded so real to me. But I when I could start to feel everything and get back into the motion, I realized like how sweaty I was. Like I had just a horrible nightmare, but I could feel that I was still conscious. It was very bizarre.
Those who experience these attacks on a regular basis often say that the contact becomes more aggressive over time. Contact between the person and entity can even become physical, leaving the person with few options for relief or comfort.
I feel that it's a part where your body is at a dead state and your brain is up on a different plane. You're picking up on a different, I don't know, I want to call it a radar or a different frequency. I would say a different energy frequency. So when you're at that frequency, you're picking up other types of energies from, it could be a figure, maybe just some other creature, or you might be feeling like you're somewhere else and you're just on it. To me, yeah, some people may even think they're in a different dimension, but I just feel like you're on a different frequency or a higher frequency.
For some, all this may be hard to believe. The idea of being trapped in one's own body, seemingly malevolent forces from another realm invading one's own space and mind. This makes the subject difficult for sufferers to discuss with professionals, friends, and family. What then is someone to do when they find themselves in the grips of sleep paralysis and at the mercy of these forces?
Next, what I started experiencing was just really bad dreams and trying to wake myself up out of these dreams. And I would be able to, but then I would be so tired, I would fall back to sleep. I couldn't help myself, and the same nightmare would come back to me. And I would finally, it was so hard, but I would finally wake myself up, and I would have to sit up in bed and just wait it out, like for an hour or two sometimes, and then I could fall back to sleep, and I was okay. Now, as I've gotten older, what I've experienced is actually seeing people, like they look like shadows, but you can definitely tell that they are people, like at the end of my bed. And again, I'll come out of a bad dream and they'll be there, and the more I look at them, they will slowly disappear, and they get lighter and lighter, and finally they go away. And this was happening quite often. So I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm sick of whoever you are, who you people are. And one night when I woke up and I saw somebody standing at the end of my bed, I finally said, you know what? I'm not afraid of you. Just go away. I don't care what you do. And that seemed to work, because from then on, I really haven't had that, where I'm seeing like shadow people at the end of my bed. The only thing now that I see occasionally when I wake up or just starting to wake up in the morning, I'll look over to the wall on my side of the bed, and I will actually see like a big spider crawling over the wall, against the wall. And the more I look at it, the smaller it gets, and it creeps along the wall just towards to the very edge, and then it disappears.
Even though the fact that Patricia had said that it has gone away, something obviously came back to her and is in some sort of different form. So it's obviously not gone. That's interesting too, that something may have come back in a different form than what it was before.
I actually talked to a neurologist about the spider thing on the wall, and I thought he would just say, well, that's awfully weird or whatever, and he said that it's not that uncommon with some people, that when they wake up they will see things like that, but they don't know why.
So it could be something else communicating with her differently. So she might be having these different entities or different forms coming in and talking to her.
I think some people just have, I think our brains are wired different than other people. And so, yeah, you see these weird things.
I again awoke in the middle of the night. We had one single light source, but it was very colorful. My roommate and I, we had Christmas lights that we hung. I think it was because of Stranger Things, because Stranger Things had just really started coming out and it was getting really popular. And so we had these lights that circled our ceiling, and we like to keep it really cold, so we're just under all these blankets. And maybe that's what added to the stillness of not being able to move. But again, I awoke, and having this been the second attack, I caught on quickly that I wasn't able to move, and I realized what this was. And what made it, I think, more terrifying was the fact that I could now see a room, and it was just crudely lit with these Christmas lights that were not so cheery and festive anymore for this given circumstance. And towards the front door is where my closet was, and it was pretty dark. I don't know what it was, but my eye immediately drew to that darkness of the closet, and I didn't see anything at first. Usually where I have a dresser and some clothes hanging from the rack, couldn't see anything. It was almost just like this unnaturally square shadow where this closet is, and I was just focused on it for a couple seconds, and I didn't hear any breathing. There was nothing behind me. I mean, the wall was behind me, so nothing could get back there. Could hear my roommate snoring because he was a notorious snorer, but I was just drawn to whatever this dark space was in the closet. And after, I guess, my eyes adjusted maybe, or maybe something revealed itself to me, I noticed just like two glints. And because of the multicolors of the room, it was really difficult to determine what colors they were, but it was two. It felt like eyes, and it was very soft. Just the vaguest thing, like one of those things that, like, when you're in a horror movie and you have to kind of lean forward to focus on to see, like, is that really on screen? Am I really seeing what I think I'm seeing? That's what it felt like as I was just focusing on this, and my body was frozen. And now, not only am I frozen and I have to listen to something, now I'm frozen and I have to look at this thing. And this is the thing that I'm thinking in my head is doing this to me. I don't know what it is. I don't know a lot about sleep paralysis or anything of this subject, but I don't know if it's a repeat offender. Is this the same thing that I was experiencing from before? Is this a different sort of entity or experience? but all I know is that I can see it. I can't hear it, but I can see it now. I can put eyes to the voice that I heard before, the breathing I could hear before. And it was just a showdown. I felt like I was in a Clint Eastwood movie, just staring this thing down, and I was not winning. I was terrified. It was, even though my body, I couldn't voluntarily move it on my own, I could feel I was shaking just with fear. But none of that shaking helped me break out. And luckily, this attack was a lot shorter because I knew what needed to be done in this instance, and that was to try and scream. It worked the last time. Maybe it'll work again. And quickly, I fought that same sort of force and energy to open my mouth to emit a sound, and it wasn't easier to do. It almost felt harder, like maybe me looking at this thing scared me into trying to accomplish this goal. But after what felt like minutes of trying to rip my mouth open to scream, it worked. And I was able to do that. I relaxed, I blinked, and when I did, it wasn't there. The two eyes or the two lights weren't there anymore. And again, the same effect of nobody heard me. And so I still to this day don't know if I'm actually emitting something when I would break out of that, or if it is a mental thing. Maybe it's more of a mental test that gets me out of it. But this happened twice in college for between the span of 3 or 4 months, and I don't know if it was an anxiety thing. Maybe it was during a big test stage or a big project or something. But after that, it was just normal nightmares on occasion. But those two experiences stick in my head forever, and I will always tell people about sleep paralysis. And it surprises me how many people don't have attacks like that. Whenever I talk to people about it, I think it's 1 out of 10 people I talk to of my friends that say, I don't know what that is. That sounds really crazy. That sounds insane. And I'm like, how have you not experienced this? Is it an anxiety thing? Is it a spiritual thing? I don't know. And so I'm always curious about it. But I'm always down to talk to people about it, because I think it's really interesting to hear who is that sort of same experience and who doesn't.
That's actually kind of common for people to be able to see eyes in closets and experience closet doors being open. Almost like a peekaboo, like I can see you feel. And there's been people that have experienced that and not be able to move. As far as my experiences, or even trying to talk to even some of my clients on different things that they might see. Other types of energies that are trying to maybe communicate, and they might be communicating with those others that stay in a dream state, heavy dream state. It's a different level of communication. And so I call them filters, because they're coming to them. They're trying to communicate to them, but when they're more vulnerable and more of a dream state.
It's kind of terrifying, because you want to get away or wake up and you can't. And your heart races, and you just feel very like, what's the word I want to use, like you can't do anything. You feel like you've lost total control.
Sleep paralysis for me feels as though what I imagine someone who's paralyzed would feel. The need to want to move limbs but can't. Extreme heat. It's as though you can feel your bones wanting to move your muscles, but you're too weak to do it. The look, just being able to look, if you're lucky enough to look, but not being able to close your eyes. I feel like you're trapped. It definitely feels like you're locked in your casket, like your body's your casket. And You can barely breathe. It's hot. You're uncomfortable. You're scared. You're weak. You're vulnerable. The only thing that seems to work is your brain and your eye. And you praying the whole time, please shut my eyes. I wouldn't wish that on nobody.
I believe, in my experience myself, there's such things as called attachments. You may be picking up on a certain energy, manifestation, entity, but like I said, if a lot of it's being caused and being in the sleep, that's when he's more vulnerable. Your mind's mentally more vulnerable for them to be able to engage with you.
Recollecting back to the two lights in the closet of my second attack, I do ponder a lot what that person or that thing could have been, and I have settled on the fact that I do think it was eyes, and I do think it was the same thing from the first attack. And from the first attack, that breathing, it sounded very deep, very heavy. It sounded like something either a beast or a man would make. I wouldn't put it as a higher pitched or feminine breathy voice. And looking back at this individual, I do picture that this thing, again, either beast or man, I'm not sure, all I could really see was the eyes and how tall it was, but it was a very tall thing. And if it was anything like the first encounter that I had, then it was something that was very male or very masculine in nature.
One of the major points in my adult life having is even worse, I'd like to say. I was about 26. I got off like 3 or 4 doubles working in the medical field and extremely tired, hadn't slept within 3 days, I would say, probably like 2 or 3 hours naps or something like that. And I decided to finally get some rest because I had the day off. Immediately fell asleep on my stomach. And that had to be the worst thing I've done. I haven't slept on my stomach since. I woke up, or I thought I woke up. Went to get up. Couldn't move. Was able to turn my head, what I seemed like after like 10 minutes, to the left. And I seen this shadow come out of my closet. Stood there, making itself known to see. And my heart raced, started to sweat. Still kind of thinking it's a dream, so telling myself inside to wake up, couldn't move my mouth. Tried to scream, there was nobody in the house, but still. Couldn't even close my eyes at a point. So I just had to sit there and watch this thing walk over to me. Couldn't make out any features or nothing, but it got to a point where my whole vision started turning black. So I knew it was like really close. Felt pressure on my neck, like it was choking me a little bit. That was scary, because I felt my breath stopping and leaving. That's when I kind of knew it wasn't a dream at that point, or it felt real, at least. The choking seemed to last for like 5 minutes, but it wasn't consistent. It would get tighter, then it would loosen, it would get tighter, and it would loosen. And I could feel the sharpness of the nails around my neck. Was finally able to blink, and when I blinked and opened my eyes again, it was gone. Slowly, my arms started to tingle. You know how you lay on your arms, and the blood started rushing back into your body. And I could move my arm, then I could move my left arm, and shot out of bed and went to the bathroom, splashing water on my face. Still kind of felt the grip of the hands around my neck, and felt like I had scratches on the back part of my neck as well too. That was one of the many times that it was extreme, but it was definitely one of the ones I definitely remember the most.
During my first attack, when I was just staring at the wall and all I could hear was this heavy breathing behind me, I legitimately thought I was going to die. I thought, at first, not knowing that this was a sleep paralysis attack, that someone had broken in to my dorm and was just playing with me. And it was very terrifying. And then the moment I realized that I physically couldn't move, but there wasn't any restraints on me, it started to settle in that maybe this was a nightmare. And that doesn't make it any less terrifying. It just means that there has to be a way out of it. And so it did become a bit of a problem solve of, if I try and move enough, no, that's not going to do it. And all the while my mind is trying to not focus. It's not only am I trying to fight the physical restraint that I'm feeling, I'm also trying to fight this mental restraint, this mental fear that my brain is going through, because it is terrified and it is not comprehending what's going on. And I'm trying, there's a small part of me that is trying to tell my brain, no, this is not real. We need to fight through this. We need to break out of this. And that made it a scarier situation, was the fact that I was having to fight myself as much as I was fighting whatever this experience was. And when it came to the second encounter where I was looking at it, it was a new sense of fear, because I was able to almost put a face to this thing and see it and see, this must be the thing that I saw behind me. But having had this experience and knowing that there was a solution, I was quick to act on that solution. I was able to have mind over matter in that instance. So I would say the first experience, my first encounter, was far more terrifying because of the unknown circumstances that surrounded it.
If I was to make an assumption of what it is, I think that some people have an innate ability to cross lines, whether that's in the spiritual world, physical world, mental, see the dead, whatever that may be. And I think those moments are, I guess, when the veil drops and you're seeing into the actual world or another world that lies beside you. I think those moments are the times that you can see into the different realms, most definitely.
I would say that, you're not going to die from it. You when it first happens, you think that you could, because your heart is racing and it's just terrifying. Just accept it if you can, and know that you're going to come out of it. And yes, it's going to be scary, and it's, going to make you feel like you don't want to, sleep at all anymore because of what happens during your sleeping hours. And then you're going to reach a point, if it happens enough, that in your mind you're going to toughen up, and you're going to kind of say back to whatever you're seeing or whatever's happening, you're going to say, no more of this. I'm not scared of you.
I have pondered why I haven't had another attack in a while, in years. And it's an interesting concept of if I'd want to experience it a third time, because obviously it's terrifying. And why would anyone want to look at something horrifying or hear something horrifying or feel trapped in the safety of their own home? But at the same time, it's such a unique thing.
The things I've seen, it really makes you question a lot. I don't know whether they're demonic, ghost-like, a slither of a realm type of situation, or just the fact that I'm too tired, or my brain's had enough too much activity. But if I were to say pick one thing, I'd definitely say they're real. They're real. They're definitely real. Frightful.
Lately, I haven't seen anything, but that doesn't mean that it stopped. It's just taking a break.
I don't know what it is, and because it's still a very unresolved topic, there's kind of that fun mystery behind, you got a little glimpse behind the veil.
The amount of fear still holds, especially when that creature comes to you thinking, oh, well, will I wake up? Will it finish me off? Is this the end type of situation? It's a frightful thing. I don't know what it may be, what they are, but they're real. It's real.
So for those of you out there that might be experiencing sleep paralysis, you're not alone. There's several people out there. I've got friends, I've got clients, I've heard from other people, even in the paranormal world, that's had it. I've been through it. Try to reach out to those ones that might be experiencing it and stuff. It might help you be able to understand some of their experience, or even reach out to people that has been through it and been able to sort of get themselves out of it. So you can sort of move forward with it.
The only advice I feel like someone can give someone else who's dealing with their own sleep paralysis, that maybe it'll be over, maybe it'll stop, maybe you can get through it. Hopefully you get used to it. Hopefully they found out ways to where you can lengthen the time before it happens again. I don't think there's a cure to that. And I don't want to dive deep into the other side to open it up more. It's something I don't feel like I have the capacity to deal with, mental capacity to deal with, searching for answers, because I feel like it gives you more questions. Just go through it. It's going to happen.
As of today, there is no cure or treatment for sleep paralysis. There is no clear explanation for the contact that millions of people experience every year. But there's still hope. As time moves on, science continues to make leaps and bounds with their progress in understanding the human mind. Maybe someday, science will help put an end to the torment that sufferers face. Or perhaps even find definitive proof of contact from another realm. Until that day, those who suffer from sleep paralysis will continue to hear, see, and even sometimes feel whatever is reaching out from the other side.